So today we're here with Dr. Reid Redden, and we're going to ask him a few questions. So we'll start off with asking you what you do at NDSU.
It's a good question. It's a little bit of a complicated thing. It takes a little bit of time to answer that, but I'm the assistant professor in the animal science department and the sheep extension specialist. So the assistant professor portion is fairly what people think of. We teach class and we do some research. Most of our research that I do is around improving the way we have sheep farming practices that go on. We're not growing 5 or 6 different legs on an animal or any kind of weird stuff like that. It's really improving animal health so that they in turn run more profitable farms because our farmers have to be profitable or they're going to go out of business. And at the same time doing the best job that we can to produce ideal product for the consumer so that we're producing quality food and fiber for the American consumer. The third portion of my job is extension, and that becomes a little more challenging and people know less about extension. If I had to simplify it down, it's conveying the best management practices within the sheep industry for what I do, and I convey those to sheep producers across the state and regionally and nationally. Our audiences are anywhere from people that are 10-year-olds that have 10 sheep to 90-year-olds that have multiple thousand sheep. And so we extend knowledge. Maybe there's new research that we need to put out there. Maybe there's management practices that are being underutilized, and we do more education to get that information out there. We also provide leadership at the state, regional, and national level. The North Dakota Lamb and Wool Producers Association is a state association that represents all of the sheep producers in the state, and so we work with that organization to help provide leadership and do things that, again, support that industry and support producing the best product that we can.
All right, so you talked a little bit about some of the misconceptions. Is there one in particular that really bothers you?
A misconception that bothers me the most is probably that there's the lack of sheep in the U.S. is related to a lack of demand for those products. Yes, the American consumer on average eats less than a pound of lamb per year, but we're over 300 million Americans, so that's a lot of lamb to be consumed. And actually we import twice as much lamb, not twice as much, we import as much or a little bit more lamb than we produce in the U.S. So actually we don't even meet the demands that we have. With our growing ethnic population and the common American household now being a little bit more adventurous in our food, we see that demand going up and our supply is going down. So being able to communicate that with both the consumer and the producer. Another misconception that goes along with that is that imported lamb is superior to domestic lamb. Some people think that, oh, if it's from Australia or New Zealand and they shipped it all the way over here, it's got to be better than our product or they wouldn't do that. And that's not actually true. We're just trying to meet a demand, and they produce a good product, but American sheep farmers produce as good or better of a product as well. So I'd encourage people to look at buying domestically if they can, and to eat lamb more regularly.
All right. So last question here.
You bet.
What is the one thing, if you had one thing that everybody would know about agriculture, what would it be?
I don't know that if I could simplify it to the one thing. I would say be more informed about knowing where your food comes from. To know where it comes from and to have an understanding of how farming practices work so that people are producing a product for you will allow the typical consumer of food or fiber to better understand and maybe be able to understand when people are trying to market something. You know, is that really true? Or how are we going to produce food for the growing population in the world? And so just the consumer knowing more about agriculture, I think, is the biggest thing that I would convey to people.
All right. Well, thanks for interviewing with us today. It was really great to interview you.
My pleasure.